Welcome back to the Birdcage. Today, I am joined alongside Lawrence Journal World High School contributor, writer for the UDK, um, I guess commentator for KJHK, Grady Johnson. Some people know him as the knower of ball, others don't. Grady, how are you doing tonight?
Doing well. How are you, Jack?
Good. We
Good.
are about to kick off the second exhibition game of Kansas's season against a team that you know very well,
Sure
Washburn.
do. Yep.
Tell me what you look forward to seeing the most on Tuesday.
Um, I think I think if we look at the Kansas side first, I want to see more out of Flory Badunga if we
Hmm.
start right away. I mean, this Washburn team is not sized as you would expect at the D2 level. Their biggest guy is 6'8". So Kansas will have the size inside, obviously without Hunter Dickinson, but if you can
Yep.
get Flory involved, get him comfortable, I think it's a good breakout game for him. And then I want to see more out of the transfers. So AJ Storr, Zeke Mayo, David Coit, and even Rocky's Passmore. I know he's not a transfer, but
Mhm.
just want to see more expansion of the newer guys. And then for the Washburn side, I mean, they're really experienced. They bring back, I think it's 85% of their points and minutes, and then like 90% of their three pointers made.
Oh,
So, yeah, a team
I
that's
could shoot a little bit.
yeah, a team that's really experienced, a team that had a chance to go to the NCAA Division II tournament last year, couldn't quite get there, but they were picked first in the conference poll. So a really skilled team, and Brett Ballard is as good of a leader at the Division II level as anybody.
Yeah. You kind of touched on what you were looking forward to seeing most from Kansas in this game. Let's talk a lot about that. They
Yeah.
had their first game in Arkansas, and we're not going to go into a really deep recap of that game. I know you watched it, I watched it too,
I
but
try to watch a little bit of it.
but they didn't play very good.
No.
Those newcomers struggled, and Bill Self even said, "You know what? We got to get everyone kind of in the offense and just kind of get everyone situated and settled in." Um, Obviously, we had a lot of key players out. Hunter
Yeah.
Dickinson being one. We had Shaquille Moore being out, and then we also had Rylan Griffin. And I think Moore and Griffin are expected to be back for Tuesday's game. I think Dickinson is still sitting out just because I don't want to say like I don't want to be rude, but this should be a game where we will be okay without him.
Yeah. I'd
Um,
agree.
Kind of taking a look at the Washburn team, you're probably one of the best in the business that I know. Um, Kind of giving like us previews for
Yeah.
a squad like this. Who are the killers? Who on this
Uh,
Washburn team can give you buckets?
I mean, there's a few guys. There's certainly a few guys. I'm going to start with Sam Ungashik. He is I think 6'1", 6 foot junior guard. He transferred in from an NAIA school last year. So it was his last year was his first season in the Washburn system. Uh, he averaged, I think it was 12.2 points per game. I mean, he can do it from the outside. He can get in and get his own bucket. He's a little undersized, so Kansas will definitely have the size advantage with him, but he can finish with both hands, and I think that's really impressive because we saw that a lot last year out of him, the
Mhm.
times that I went and watched them play. Other guys that I think can be killers are guard Jack Batchelor. He's a sophomore from my hometown of Topeka, Kansas, hometown of Washburn.
The
Uh,
hometown hero.
yep. Sure is. 11 and a half points per game. He's 42.6% three-point shooter. He's the best clip on the team. And then inside, they go to Andrew Orr, who was the leading scorer last year, 13.3 points per game, second team All MIAA selection. And then they brought in guard Jacob Hanna, who's not the best shooter. He only shot 30.6% from three at Illinois Springfield last year, but he was a first team All GLVC selection and averaged, I think, around 15 points per game. So he'll be an easy insert into the starting lineup for Washburn.
Yeah. The last time that these teams met was December 3rd of 2020 in a regular season game. Talk about kind of like what this means to just like the Kansas community.
I think it's really cool. What KU does every year. I mean, they play all four of the Division II schools on a rotation, But I think this one means a little more just because of Brett Ballard's connection to KU. He was a player here. He was a part of a Final Four team. And then he was on staff with Bill Self. So they're good friends. They're very familiar with each other. And obviously, I know a lot of the kids on the Washburn side that grew up in the state, whether it be from Wichita or Topeka or Kansas City or whatever not, grew up going to KU games. And so I think it's a really cool experience for them to be able to play in the field house and get that experience against a really good team.
Yeah. One thing that I noticed, out of state student, not really familiar with Kansas basketball.
Yeah.
I come here my freshman year of college, and I am amazed with
Yeah.
how packed the Allen Fieldhouse was for an exhibition game.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously Allen Fieldhouse is not like um many places to play in college basketball. So I would be stoked if I was a Washburn player and I got the opportunity to play here.
Oh yeah, I would 100% be stoked as well if I were them. I mean, especially like Jack Batchelor, a kid that I grew up knowing, a kid that I grew up watching. I know he went to a bunch of KU games. Um, but yeah, it'll be a really cool experience for them, and I know Brett Ballard's gonna coach them up and tell them not to be shied away from the light, and they shouldn't be. I mean, they have nothing to lose in this game, so
Hmm.
the experience of that and the experience of that they'll be gaining is just it'll be a fun time for I think both teams.
Yeah. If you're Bill Self and you're a Kansas fan, what would you want to see from the Jayhawks tomorrow night? I know we touched on this a little earlier, but
Yeah, I'm gonna go back to it and say more production from the transfers, just
mhm,
because it's guys that you need to get going in the system. I know Bill said it earlier this afternoon in his press conference. If we don't get AJ and Zeke going, then I mean we're not going to be successful. You've got to
yeah,
get those two going. So look for them to improve. I think David Coit has a chance to at least show his name out a little bit, have a little bit of a successful performance, get a
mhm,
little more acclimated to what Allen Fieldhouse is,
yeah,
just game type experience in the Kansas offense. But yeah, I think if the transfers play well tomorrow night, then it'll set them up for at least the first stretch of the season that includes games against North Carolina and Michigan State.
yeah. It's not a very easy non-con schedule. So
Not at
we're gonna
all.
have to we're gonna have these guys get going very soon.
Yep.
The overall series between Kansas and Washburn is KU 40, Washburn 3. How amazed, Grady, would you be if Washburn was able to pull one out at the field house?
Man, I honestly would have the most like mixed emotion feeling ever because on one
Mhm.
end I would probably end up overreacting the Kansas fan inside of me, but
I probably would too.
the Washburn fan in me would absolutely enjoy that so much, would love that. I know my family would enjoy that. My friends that go to Washburn, they would enjoy that.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, knowing a kid on the team, I think it would be really cool if Washburn pulled it out. I don't think they will. The talent discrepancy is just so large in games like this, but I think it'd be really cool to see.
Okay, Grady, I need a score prediction from you. What do you think?
Okay. I think it's close for the first about 15 or so minutes. And then I think the Kansas Death pulls away. If I had to give a complete score prediction, I'm gonna go 88 to 62.
Okay. If that was the final score tomorrow, as a Kansas fan, would you be a little nervous?
Not necessarily. Not
Okay.
Yeah, this is I mean, if it looks bad, then maybe, and if it's close throughout the first half and then a little bit into the second half, maybe you're a little bit concerned, but
Hmm.
if Kansas just gets out to the lead, uses their depth, I don't think there's any reason for concern. This is
Yeah.
this is a very good Washburn team. They were picked first and in my opinion, the best conference in Division Two, the MIAA. So no, I don't think you're concerned if it's a 26-point game. I think if it's a 20-point game, maybe a tiny bit, but 20 plus, 25 plus, I think you feel fairly confident going into Howard next week.
Yeah. Alrighty. We got the Washburn preview kind of wrapped up. Now I get to just I get to just ask you a bunch of questions. We're gonna
Sounds
we're gonna sit here and we're gonna talk ball a little bit, Grady.
That we are. Come on.
All righty. Who do you think? We're gonna go first of all conference predictions. We're gonna go
Okay.
over most of the big conferences. You're gonna tell me predictions, and then even if you want to explain your predictions a little bit, go for it.
Okay.
So who do you have winning the ACC?
The ACC, it's Duke. I
It's
mean,
Duke.
yeah, it's Duke. Part of me said Carolina at first, but I mean, Duke beat Arizona State by 56 in an exhibition the other day.
Yeah.
And I think Cooper Flagg is a first team All American, whether he be 18 years old or not. I think he's way too good to be playing at this level. I mean, he was competing with Olympians for goodness sake. So
Yeah.
I think it's close. I think Duke gets some scares on the road, but I think Duke for sure has the best team in the ACC.
Who do you think wins the Big Ten?
The Big Ten. That's a little bit more of a tough one just because of there's not a lot of talent gap in the Big Ten. I mean, everybody's pretty close to each other. I'll go Purdue. I'll say they run it back.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely different because the Big Ten has been the past few years has just been Edie.
Yeah,
And so you're like, just throw Purdue up there.
yeah,
And now teams like Indiana, Illinois are a little are closer on their level than some teams would even think. So I think you're right. I think Purdue has a really good shot. My pick was Indiana, just
yeah,
because I think their coach is what's holding them back.
yeah. I agree with
Genuinely, I think they have one of the best rosters in the country. It's just a lot of people question, um, a lot of people question, what's his name? I'm blanking right now.
Mike Woodson.
Mike Woodson. A lot of people are just questioning Mike Woodson's ability at this point. And I'm gonna be honest, Grady, if he can't win games this year, I don't think he can win games at Indiana.
No, and I agree with you on that. I would have said Indiana, but you're right. I think Matt Painter is a much better coach. And I mean, you saw what Indiana had last year. They should have beaten Kansas in the middle of
Yep.
December. They had a much better roster than what their records show. They have a really good roster this year, but Mike Woodson hasn't been a proven winner, and until he can prove that he is a winner, I can't say that Indiana is going to win the Big Ten.
Yeah, no. You're right. Painter's a top 10 coach, and
Yep.
trust me, if anybody can figure it out in Purdue, without Edie, it would be Matt Painter.
Yep.
So we knocked off the ACC and we knocked off the Big Ten. Who is your Big East winner?
Ooh, this one hits a little home for you. And I want to go with your Blue Jays, but it's UConn
It is. Yeah.
only because they keep doing it. And Danny Hurley is such a good coach, and it doesn't matter who he has on his roster. I They're just so talented and they're so disciplined, and Creighton will give them a big run for their money, but I think it's one of those two, and I'm gonna lean toward UConn just because they've got that experience in big games.
I really think until Hurley shows he can't do it,
Yeah.
you got to just have Hurley in there. It's
Yep.
the obvious answer, and I think 99% of people that I've talked to about it agree with you.
Yeah.
I'm in the other category. I do think Creighton gets it this year, just because I think the UConn roster took a step back from last year. Obviously, now that I'm saying that, they're going to be the number one team in the country and dog walk everybody to another national championship. But I do think that roster did take a little bit of a step backward. So I think if any team can go up there and win it, it would be Creighton or even St. John's. I think St. John's is sneaky good this year. So we'll have to see come, I guess, March when conference tournament is kind of wrapping up. But who do you have winning the Big 12?
I don't want to get my bias aside on this one, but I think it is one of Kansas and Houston, and I think Baylor is on the outside looking in. I think it's probably one of those three. I think Arizona's schedule doesn't favor them to where I say Arizona's in that talk, but I think Kansas, Houston, and then maybe Baylor, or
Yeah.
one of those three most likely.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I think a lot of people have those teams kind of towards the top
Yeah.
of their predictions. I think I picked Kansas, obviously. Um, I don't really want to dive into Houston right now because I'm still mad at Sampson for being mean to Ben at Media Day. We'll we'll move past it. Who do you have last conference, I think, last big conference? Who do you have winning the SEC?
This is a point blank Arizona, Alabama. I think
Yeah.
Arkansas and Kentucky maybe give them a run, but I think Alabama has the best roster in that conference. And I mean, Nate Oates just took them to a Final Four. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I think Alabama gets it done in the SEC.
So now I'm gonna ask you a little, not some hot takes, but I just want to kind of get your opinion. Um, are you scared that Kansas has a lot of new pieces coming in?
Um, I mean, I'm scared for how those pieces will fit. Just because we haven't seen that yet. I mean, I know it's been an exhibition game and you know, slight overreaction, but you gotta see them fit at some point. Um,
Yes.
and you'd like that to come sooner or later, but I'm not scared for the new pieces. I mean, college basketball, college athletics is an ever-changing thing now.
Mhm.
So it's gonna be things like this on the regular. So I don't think you can be scared for how many new pieces you have. They've just got to the puzzle has to fit. The puzzle has to fit. And I think that's what we'll see a lot more out of not just Kansas and other teams this year, but I think this, like I said, this is the norm now.
Yeah. So that question was actually supposed to be asked earlier, but it escaped my brain, so I wanted to ask it now while it
Yeah.
was on my while it was in my head.
Yeah.
Who do you have in your final four, and then who is your national champion?
Ooh. I haven't really thought about this one yet. I feel like
It's a good question.
it's a
I'll tell
good
you mine
yeah.
after. I don't want to influence you.
It's so far right. It's so far away right now that I don't want to
That's why
put
it's the perfect time to do something like
yeah,
this.
yeah, right before the season. Okay. I'm gonna go Houston as one of my final four teams.
Hmm.
Um, Trying to think here. I think UConn goes back. So Houston, UConn. Um, Iowa State, little bit of a dark horse.
Hmm.
Um, hmm.
That's a good team. Iowa State, yeah, they're a good squad.
I the fourth one is a little tricky. There's a few teams that come to my mind. I'm gonna say Alabama
Alabama.
as my
So
four.
the Grady Johnson Final Four:
No Kansas.
Alabama, Houston, Iowa State, and UConn.
Yeah, it's just a little random and it's very early right now, but I mean
Hmm.
those are just some of the better teams. Obviously, there's a lot of unregular things that happen in college basketball. So that
Yeah.
probably won't be very accurate when it comes said and done, but
Hmm.
you could get a group of five team in there. You probably will get a group of five team or someone you don't expect.
Yeah.
Um, but if I had to pick a national champion right now,
Hmm.
I know we're mad at him because of the way media day went, but I think Kelvin Sampson's Houston squad. I don't know why I can't pick against them. I think it's them or UConn for me. A UConn situation is, like I said earlier, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. UConn has proven time and time again now that they're on the big stage. They're a blue blood. There, I said it. Not really a hot take anymore.
No.
But I mean, Houston or UConn, I'll probably say Houston as my national champion right now.
So Grady, you are the second person I've had come on here in 2 days and say Houston's winning the national championship.
Is that what Sam said?
That is what Colton said
Okay.
last night. Sam, I'll have to go back and watch Sam's predictions. A few other teams that we are kind of on the lookout for were Rutgers with Ace Bailey and Dylan Harper.
Yeah, good squad.
Um, I think they just have the potential to electrify everybody, and then that's gonna
I
be
think
super fun.
I think those two are really good and they'll be really fun to watch.
Yeah, I'll give you mine real quick, just so you can make fun of me because I know we're in the same boat here with probably not going to be correct. I
Yeah.
had Kansas making it,
I don't
and
hate that.
then I had Duke making it.
Completely forgot Duke. See, so many good teams out there that it's hard to put four in.
Yeah, 100%. And then I had Baylor, and then I had Arkansas.
Okay. I
And
don't.
I
Maybe.
think we see I really do think we see a Baylor Duke or a national championship game, and John Shire will get his first for the Devils. I just think Cooper Flagg's too talented, and that team's too talented to not at least compete for one.
That would be a fun battle though. Jeremy Roach versus his former school for a national
Yeah.
championship. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah. That'd be a fun storyline though too, because the past few years, I don't want to like be rude or anything, but the national championship games just hasn't haven't really lived up to the hype.
They haven't
I
been fun.
mean, because you can argue Edie and UConn last year, but
There's a
really
storyline.
everybody knew UConn was going to win that game. So I think that would be a different test, and I think that'd be a fun test.
Yeah, for sure.
But there you go. That is our preview for Washburn. Grady, I'm gonna have to have you come back on here in a few days to give us a little recap. But it was a pleasure talking to you for a few minutes, and thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
Thank you for having me, Jack, as always.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. We will see you for the recap episode for Washburn.